All right, we're gonna get started working on some whole body exercises, but integrating a little extra arm, shoulder, upper body work into it. So if you start laying on your back with your arms up to the ceiling and just widen between your shoulder blades and then narrow between your shoulder blades, just kind of moving and gliding through the shoulder blades. And then find the place where you're in between the arms being further up and further down, so you're open across the front of the shoulders. Connect your abdominals and lift one leg up to tabletop and then the other. And just small, tight circles, trying to connect into your rotator cuff. Trying to maintain your abdominal connection, your imprint against the movement. If you can, move the arms quick. And reverse the direction. Keep your imprint, nice tight circles. And then pause the arms. One arm is going to go overhead. Palms are both going to face up. The other arm's going down by the side. They pass each other, facing each other, and you switch. And as you switch between arms, keep the abdominal connection, reaching through the arms, opening up through the armpits. If you'd like, you can add a single leg extension to this. So it'd be the opposite knee staying bent is great. So whichever arm goes overhead, that same leg reaches out. If you do it the opposite way, it's totally fine, doesn't really matter. Opening through the back of the leg. And one more each side. And then bring the legs back to tabletop. Take both arms overhead without letting the hands rest on the floor. Shug your shoulders up towards your ears and then draw them back into the shoulders, down the back in a gentle V. Inhaling, lifting up towards the ears, drawing down in a gentle V. At any point, of course, you could put your feet down on the floor if you need to. And two more. And last one. Connecting through the shoulders, circle your arms around, flex your upper body up as you bring your arms towards your hips. Reach your arms overhead, turn the palms up to the ceiling, lower your upper body down, and circle around. Do that a couple times. Reaching through the arms, circle around, flexing up. Two more. And last one. Circle around, stay here. If you want to extend your legs, you can. Pumping the arms. Alternate between the palms facing up and the palms facing down. Inhaling through the nose, exhaling out through pursed lips. Trying to keep the upper body from bouncing up and down. Inhaling and exhaling. Try to slide ribs to hips a little bit further. Two more sets. Inhaling, we're not doing a full 100. Exhaling. And last set, inhale and exhale. Lower your upper body back down. Take your hands wide, keep the weights on them, and lift the legs up to tabletop again. Rotate your pelvis to one side. Let the weight of the other arm and the shoulder blade, the upper body, pull against it. So try not to let your whole rib cage lift off the floor. You're trying to keep the ribs down and rotate the pelvis. And then turn and look the other way as you go the opposite direction. And then if you want to add to that, extend the bottom leg on the diagonal, adds more lever length. Extend the bottom leg. Doink. Yeah, so whichever one's on the bottom, there you go. The other leg, if you can keep it from kind of collapsing, that it's still tabletop, one leg extends. Tabletop through the center, one leg extends. Tabletop, yeah. And one more each way. Finish up even on both sides. Bring your legs back to the center, set your legs down, and turn your palms so your palms face out. Your fingers are facing out, and then turn your palms so your thumbs face down. So you're making kind of this like figure eighting motion through the arms. Thumbs are leading you, and you're stirring the arms. You can start to make it a little bigger. Figure eighting, as big as you can control. Really depends on how heavy the weights are, of course. If they're super light, then you can make it a huge range of motion way up overhead. If they're heavier, might need to be a little smaller. Thumbs lead. So it's not a circle, it's a figure eight. So I'm trying to get some rotation of your humerus. Your thumb rolls in, then your thumb rolls out. So your arm is rolling in, your arm is rolling out. And then add your upper body flexing up to this and lowering down. And you flex up, lower down. Kind of a stirring motion of the arms. Yeah, exactly. So the thumbs roll in, the palms face out, you flex up, the palms face up, you lower down, the palms face out, you flex up. Or you can think about the thumbs point down, you flex up, the thumbs point away to come back down. And add a leg lift with each rep, lifting to tabletop. Four more. That's right. And last one. And then setting the arms back down and bring your feet in close to your pelvis, round your hips under, roll your hips up into a bridge, opening across the front of the hips. Make sure there's nothing under your head at this point. You don't want to put pressure on your neck. Feel like you're imprinting more and pushing your hips up more at the same time. So you're trying to open up across the front of the hips and then roll back down, trying to keep the front of the hips open as long as you can. Good, do that again. So super simple, rounding the pelvis under, rolling up, shortening ribs to hips. Try to pull back on the front of the pelvis so you're shortening the abdominals a little, pushing the pubic bone up, and then stay there and lift one foot off the ground without any change and set it down. Keep the foot as low as possible and try not to wobble side to side. So try to push your hips up a little further if you can. Lift one foot, put it down. Lift one foot, put it down. Open up across the front of the hips, get those glutes working. One more each side, finish up even. And then roll all the way back down through your spine and rest the pelvis back down. Reach the arms up towards the ceiling, open your arms out to the side in a T, and then press back up to the ceiling. As you do this a few times, trying to feel how the whole kind of midline of the body connects to bring the arms back up. And if you want it to be a little more difficult, lift the legs up to tabletop, open and close. Try to keep it moving so the arms don't just relax down onto the floor. They continuously are moving. And four more. And then one arm at a time. Feel how your obliques have to work to keep everything centered. So you're trying to not let anything rotate or tip. Opening one arm, press it up. Open, press. If your weights are really light, put them both in one hand and open the arm with the weights in it. You can add a leg extension to this. So as the arm opens, the opposite leg extends, everything comes back to where it started from. Extend, open and close, open and close. And then bringing yourself back to the center, either with the feet up or the feet down. Take your arms overhead and bend your elbows, press your arms to straight. If you're running out of room, then try to turn your palms up towards the ceiling. It usually makes it a little bigger range. Leave your humerus, your upper arm bone, exactly where it is while you bend and press. If you want, you could hold both hands together, but usually it's less range. Yeah, so harder if both arms are apart and they have to fend for themselves. If you want to lift the legs up to tabletop, feel free. Bring them on up. If you want it to be a lot harder, you could take both legs down, both legs up as the arms go down, the legs go down. Pushing through the back of the arms. Couple more. And last one. And then set your feet down further away from you. Circle your arms around to your hips, flex your upper body up and roll all the way up. Straighten your legs, reach out over the legs. And as you roll down, bend your legs back in, reach the arms overhead, circle the arms around. Doing that a couple times, just rolling up. You can do a little pulse over the legs if you like. And if you want to keep the legs straight, you can, but try not to lose any of the articulation. If it means your back is really stiff, then go back to the bent leg version. Good. Little pulse, pulse. If you want this to be more difficult, keep the arms, like the biceps framing the head the whole time. So as you roll down, you keep the head between the arms and you have to carry that heavier weight to roll down. You can do the same thing on the way up, it's just more difficult. And you roll up, head comes between the arms. You keep the head between the arms instead of reaching them forward as you roll down. Yeah, just two more. And last one, however you're doing it is great. And finish back down on the floor. You can set the weights down and roll onto your side. Laying on your side, bringing your legs into tabletop position, reach the top arm forward and just rotate the torso open. Stay here for a breath, see if you can sink the ribs down. Feel like you're sinking a little further into it with each exhale. Keep reaching that front knee forward. And then bring your arm back up to the ceiling and come up onto your forearm and bring your knees, instead of the knees being forward of you, bring them back in line with the rest of your body. So starting by just lifting your hips up and lowering your hips back down. So you're trying to use your oblique and your lat here to push the floor away and lower back down. Some of you might want to extend the legs fully out and do this from straight legs. You're welcome to do that, pushing yourself up and lowering down. Either way, pressing up, try to keep from turning towards the floor. And if you can, just lower your hip and lift it right away again. Yeah, exactly. And then you're gonna lift and stay, reach the top leg out and just hold it there. Try to not turn towards the floor. So as much as you can, keep the chest open. And then lower back down. If you want it to be easier, sneak that leg forward a little bit, the bottom one. Push yourself back up. hold and circling. And reverse. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Lower back down. Stay pushing the floor away so you're not sinking into your shoulder and your waist. Hold and 2 kicks forward. Sweep the leg back. And as you do this a couple times, sweeping through the leg, reaching the leg long, trying to keep the ribs connected. Two more. And last one. And then bring the leg down, reach the top arm overhead, push yourself into a side bend like you're trying to push the floor away and lift your waist, and then side bend towards the floor. You're kind of curving one way through the ribs and curving the other. Shouldn't feel hard, just moving your ribs. Push, pull feeling. One more time. Big curve. This will come in handy later. And then bring yourself over to the other side. So lay on the second side, knees bent in front of you. Take the top arm forward, reach it beyond the bottom hand. Rotate your chest open. Take a couple breaths here. Inhale. And exhale, sink a little further. And inhale. And exhale. As you exhale, see if you can reach further into the rotation, create more opposition through that top knee. One more time. And then lift yourself back up to the ceiling, closing back hand to hand, and then bring your forearm underneath you. Back your knees up in line with the rest of your body, and then press your hips up and lower your hips back down a few times. You can straighten the legs all the way out if you want, trying to keep your chest as much as you can facing forward. Lift your hips a little, lower them. Lift. If you straighten the legs all the way out on the other side, you should do it here as well. So you're lifting up with straight legs. If your legs are straight, try not to let them be passive. They're actively straight and you're reaching through your feet so that you have something to come up to stand on. And pressing up, lower, down. Good. Lift and lower. 3 more. Lift and lower. So the whole bottom side of the rib cage, shoulder, torso is working here. And then either with your hip staying down or with your hip up, you're gonna lift up, extend the top leg and just hold. Push your hip forward, try to get that bottom glute connected. Nice. And then lower your hip back down. Come up and stay and hold and circling. And reverse. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Lower your hips down. Reach the top arm away into that side bend and come back into the other side bend. So you're just shifting your ribs one direction up towards the ceiling, and then you shift your ribs towards the floor. And shift ribs towards ceiling and shift towards the floor. One more time. And then either with the hips up or down, keep from collapsing, lift the top foot, 2 kicks forward, sweep back. Nice. Good, keep connecting through the center so you're not letting your body swing forward and back as you do this. Try not to collapse through that bottom arm, and your elbow shouldn't be in of your shoulder. It should be directly underneath your shoulder. You've got to work the lat and the obliques to keep the waist lifted. One more time. And then bring your leg back in and come up from there. Come onto your hands and knees. Hands under the shoulders, knees under the hips. Round your back up towards the ceiling, scoop up however it feels good, just hollowing out your abdomen, trying to scoop up and in like a greyhound belly, and then lengthen back out to one long line. And again, rounding your back, scooping up, pushing the floor away, and lengthening back out. And last time, rounding your back, just getting things moving a little bit. You can wiggle a little side to side if that feels good to you. You could shift back on the diagonal through the hips, get a little stretch through the lower back, and then lengthen out to one line, long line, either with or without the weights. If you have the kind of weights that have a strap on it, that's useful because you could put your foot in the weight and lift the weight with your foot. If you don't have that kind of weight, then you won't be able to do that. And you could just use a weight in your hand instead. But I'm gonna try having a weight in my foot, on my foot, and in my hand. So obviously do what you can with the props you have. So opposite arm and leg will have the weight. You're gonna start with reaching your leg out and reaching your arm forward, and then just lift the arm and leg and tap back down. Lift and tap down. Good. Hold the arm and leg up and either stay or sweep the arm back towards the hip and reach it back overhead. As you're sweeping the arm towards the hip, try to keep the body from shifting forward and back. Keep reaching through that back leg towards the hip, reach overhead. Towards the hip, nice. Reach overhead, awesome, Amelia. Back and forward, keeping long crown of the head away from the pelvis. One more time. And then set that weight down between both hands, come down onto your forearms and lower the leg and lift the leg. Lower your leg, lift. Keep your hip working, down on the forearms, lower, keep the leg straight. And really focus in on that standing hip. Keep your legs straight, Natalia. Yeah, we'll do what you were doing in a second. Good. Lower your foot, lift. 3 more. Hold the leg up and little pulses of the leg up, up, up. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bring your leg back in. Sit back towards your heels. Stretch back. Don't change the weights yet. We're going to stay with the weight on that foot. And grab the weight in your hand again. Come back onto your hands and knees. Cool. Reach arm and leg out. Hold it up. And bring your arm all the way back to your hip where it was. Bend and straighten the elbow, tricep press. Bend and straighten. Add to this, bending your knee and your elbow, straightening your knee and your elbow. Bend and straighten, bend. 4, 3, hold the arm and leg out, and again, pulsing up. The arm and leg both pulse up. And 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bring it all the way back in. And so reaching your arm and leg out. So you have opposite arm and leg. Lift it up and tap back down. Lift and lower. Keeping the pelvis as level as you can. Try to lengthen the neck, kind of liberate your head out of your shoulder girdle. So you're not letting yourself kind of turtle in. You're not hanging off the shoulder. You're getting longer the whole time. Yeah, nice. Hold the leg up, take the arm back towards the hip, reach it back overhead, towards your hip, overhead. Trying to hold that leg up. Keep straightening that back leg. Set that weight down, come down onto your forearms, keep the leg straight, tap your leg down, lift it up. Keep pulling in from your center, so the higher the leg goes, the more you're connecting the abdominals. Nice. Hold the leg up, keep it there, and little pulses up, up, up. Three, two, and one. Bring your leg in, do a little stretch back, and then come back onto the hands and knees. Weight in your hand, and reach the arm and leg out. Lift up, bring your arm all the way back to your hip. Bend and straighten the elbow, tricep press. If you can add the leg to it, that's even better. Bend in, press out. Everything bends, everything straightens. Four more. Four. Last two. And last one, keep the arm and leg straight. Little pulse up, up, up. Arm and leg are both pulsing. And 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bring your arm and leg back down. You can take the weight off your foot. Sit back towards your heels. Round your back. Kind of bring your hands over to one side. Shift your hips away from that side to get a big stretch to the opposite hip. And take your hands across to the other side. Big stretch. And then come to your forearm facing the side. So a few options. Bring your hand behind your head and just rotate your upper body towards the floor. Open back up. Rotate your upper body towards the floor. Open back up. If you want to come up on your knees or all the way up on straight legs and do this, you can. Rotate. Yeah, awesome, Natalia. Yeah, good. Rotate and open. Push the floor away the whole time. Two. One more. If you're all the way up on straight legs, lower your hips down for a second, and then grab a weight. Reach your arm up to the ceiling. Bend your elbow to thread through, and then open back up to the ceiling. Rotate, punch up to the ceiling. If you want to do this lifted, got a little bit more work there through that bottom arm to stay up. Awesome. Yeah, that looks good, everyone. Punch up, rotate, punch up, rotate, punch up. Three more. And last one. And then bring yourself all the way up onto your hand, pushing into that side bend. So you're shifting your ribs, take your arm overhead and lower your hips back down. So the beginning of your side bend here, up and over. We're gonna add to this today in a minute. And big reach up and over. If it feels good to rotate one way, you can, or the other way. It's up to you. And rotate. And set your hips down, swing your legs over to the other side. Put your forearm down, hand behind the head. Hips can be up, they can be down, they can be legs straight. Whatever you did on the other side, rotate towards the floor, open back up. Rotate. Think about your abdominals kind of pulling you into rotation. Two more. Last one. And then grab your weight, punch your arm up to the ceiling, thread the needle here, and lift back up if you want to come up onto your hover. Rotate, punch up. Rotate under, punch up. Use your breath to help you. Punch back up, rotate, punch up, rotate. 3 more. And last one. And then bring yourself up onto your hand for your side bend. Push yourself up and over, big stretch. And a couple times like this, however it feels good to you, you can add a little rotation of your torso if that helps you to open up the rib cage and the shoulders. Lift up and over. One more time. And then you're going to sit down and turn to face one direction so you have lots of mat behind you. Nothing on the mat behind you. We're going to do a version of rolling like a ball. So you can let go of your weights, round to the back of your sits bones, look down towards your pubic bone, lift one leg up and then the other, find your balance. Start with your feet kind of tabletop position, deepen your abdominals, roll back and kind of kick your legs to straight, and then drop your feet, suspend at the top each time. So you hold your balance by pulling back on the low abs, and then you go again. If you want this to be harder, take the hands to the shins, don't kick the legs, roll back, deepen the abs to come up. You're trying to stop right before your toes touch. Use your strong exhale each time you come back up to stop the motion for a second and kind of suspend, deepen the abs to roll back. Try not to sit straight up on your sit bones and kind of look forward and up. If you're looking forward, you're not in a ball shape anymore. So keep looking towards your pubic bone, rounding as much as you can. Try to keep your head from touching the ground. Your hair can touch, but not your head. Good. Do 2 more. And last one. You're going to balance at the top. Hold, hold, hold. See if you can let go of your hands. Keep the position. Keep holding from your abs. And then you're going to slowly roll down. If you need to hold behind legs, you can. Come to tabletop and go into your single leg stretch. One leg reaches out. Exhale, touch the leg that comes towards you. You can pull your knee in past 90 degrees, but not let the abs turn off. So if that makes it too easy, stop your legs more at tabletop. Try to take the leg a little lower as it straightens. And 6, 5, good. 4, 3, 2, and last one. Come back in, set your head down. And from here, we're gonna reach the legs up to the ceiling. Take the hands to the outside of the legs. Nod your chin, flex your upper body up. Scissors, one leg towards you, one leg away, double pulse. Exhale, exhale. Try not to let your abs pop out and lose the connection as you pulse the legs. Strong exhale. If you want it to be harder, arms can float like hundreds. Beautiful. So pulse, pulse, switch, pulse, pulse, switch, pulse, pulse. So it's like they go further, further, switch, further, further. Last one. And then bend the legs in, set your upper body down. Little circle of the legs one way, little circle of the legs the other way. Whatever you need. Bring your feet back down. Take one weight in one hand. Bring the other hand behind your head. Flex your upper body up. Hold that arm like hundreds and extend the opposite leg out long. So right arm has the weight, left leg is extended. Pumping the arm up and down like hundreds. Trying to stabilize your pelvis so your pelvis is level. And 6, 5, 4, last 2 sets, and last one. And then bend that leg into tabletop, but keep it in the air. Reach the arm with the weight in it overhead. You're gonna bend your elbow and bring it towards your knee, pulling your knee and your elbow towards each other, and then lower down and reach the knee and the elbow away from each other. Up and across, reach out, up and across. And try to shorten your waist if you can. Reach your elbow to the outside of that leg as it pulls in. So instead of just meeting it, reach it across the midline, across the midline, across the midline. And then I'd love, as you lower down, instead of being in a straight long line, that you take your arm and leg out on a slight diagonal. So you're coming across the midline of the body and you're reaching on a diagonal away from the midline of the body. Just changes the work a little bit. Four more. Last one. Lower that arm and leg down straight. Keep everything else the same. Hold. The leg that is foot flat on the floor, that leg is going to lift up, and you're just going to stir your leg in the hip socket. If you want to straighten the leg, you can. Circling your leg around and around. We're in a more elongated position, so it should feel like a little bit more core work to stabilize everything. Reverse, circling, circling. Last one. And then bring that leg back in, bring the other leg in. Switch your weight over to the other side. Hand will come behind the head. Opposite arm and leg reach long. You flex up into your hundreds position, and we're pulsing. Inhaling for 5, exhaling for 5. Nice strong pulse of the arm or pump of the arm and the leg. Keep flattening through the low abdominals, trying to feel like you have a seatbelt across the hips holding you stable. Nice. 3 more sets. Last set. And then you can bring that leg into tabletop, reach the other arm overhead, and you're going to bend the elbow, flex up and across towards knee to elbow, reach out in a straight long line directly underneath yourself, directly over yourself. Try to start to bring your elbow to the outside. Nice. Up and across towards the outside of the knee, bringing the knee across the midline and the upper body across the midline. Then start to take the leg and the arm out onto a diagonal instead of directly underneath you. Bring it across the midline, way out on the diagonal, away from the midline. Last 4. And 3, 2, last 1. Bringing that leg down, reach the arm overhead and the leg out long. Lift the leg that hasn't been moving up off the floor, extend it if you like, circling the leg in the hip socket. Bend the knee if you just feel hip tension. And then reverse. Trying to keep everything from wobbling around. Last one. And then set that leg down, bring everything back in, set the weight down, hug your legs into your chest, drop your knees over to one side and rotate in the other direction. Big stretch, taffy kind of pull feeling, and then bring your knees through the center and go the other way. And then come back to the center, roll over onto your stomach. You're gonna want both weights, legs apart. Rotate your legs turned out, connect through the back of the legs. Let's reach the arms down by the side. Thumbs facing down. Let your shoulders roll forward a little bit. The first part of it, I want it to be the shoulders rolling open and you turning your thumbs more up towards the ceiling or the palms to face outward. So you're focusing on the shoulder. The shoulder rolls open, the thumb turns up. You roll back down. The shoulder rolls open, you lift your upper body, and you lower. If you want to add the legs floating away from the floor, you can. So it's like just a really easy float, and then you soften back into the floor. And again, nice, soft floating, and you lower back into the floor. Twice more. Lengthening up. And lengthening up. And lower down. You're going to do one more to stay, either with the feet up or the feet down. And thumbs are pulsing up, up. The arms a little bit more to a T to the side. And start to bring the arms back towards the hips, keeping that pulse going. And one more set, going out to the T, 2, 3, 4, back to the hips, 2, 3, and 4. Lower yourself back down. Bring your hands underneath your forehead. You don't need the weights. Sure, you could add them if you want, but you probably don't need them. Bring your legs to parallel and point your feet down. Reach out through the crown of the head and get really long and try to feel the upper back working to hover the upper body away from the floor. It's a pretty low hover. From here, rotate so one elbow is trying to touch the floor, the other is going up to the ceiling a little bit, and then come back to the center. It's a small range because the floor is in the way. There's not a lot of room to move, but you're trying to rotate like a corkscrew. Rotate. And then on the next one, as you rotate, you can reach the arm back towards the hip, like you're trying to touch your back of your hand towards the opposite thigh. Come back to the center, rotate the other way, reach the hand back, come back to your head. Rotate, reach the hand back towards the hip, and back to your head. One more, and then lower yourself back down, shake it out for a second. We're gonna do one more set of those. So floating your upper body long away from the feet, rotate the upper body, reach the hand back, bring your hand to your forehead. Rotate, reach the hand back, hand to the forehead. Rotate, reach. I hear a bunch of cheering and coming back. And rotate, reach, and lower yourself back down. Put your hands under your shoulders. Push yourself back into a shell stretch. Round your back. Take a couple breaths. Does anybody else hear a lot of cheering going on outside? I was hoping, hoping it meant something. Okay, maybe it's just sports. Come onto your hands and knees. You're gonna hover your knees up into your leg pull front prep, then step one leg out to plank, then the other leg pull front prep, back in. Out, out, in, in. Go as fast as you can. If you can initiate with a different leg, that'd be good too. And then setting yourself down, take a break for a second if you need to. Hi, Hazel. I don't need your services right now, thank you. And we're gonna do that again. Here we go. Come out into your plank or your leg pull front prep and go faster. In, out, out, in, out, out. Try to stay low. And then when you need to take a break, set your knees down. We're gonna do a little stretch here. So reach one leg out. The arm on that same side is gonna lift up. You can keep your foot on the ground if you want, or it can lift up, but you're gonna turn yourself to the ceiling. If it's easier to keep the foot down, keep the foot down. Open your chest to the ceiling. Bring that hand and leg back in and down. The other leg reaches out. Open your chest to the ceiling. And bring it back in and down. More work if you float the leg off the ground. Your call. And come back. We have one more set of those planks. If you can, make it faster than you did before. Hover the knees up, out, out, in. Let yourself pull yourself forward kind of with your arms a little bit. Good. And then when you're done with that, set your knees back down, turn to the side. Like we did earlier, where I was saying your ribs are moving here and you're creating a side bend, same as when we did this side bend. That's what we're going for, it's just bigger. So you're gonna have one foot in front of the other ankle, your arm on top of the leg. You're gonna start to push through that shoulder so it shifts your ribs out of the way to initiate coming up into a side bend. So you're gonna try to come all the way up. If you can, squeeze. Yeah, try to zip your inner thighs up. So it's cheating if you sneak your feet out or sneak one foot out. That doesn't work. You've got to figure out this relationship. And if you can't come all the way up, you're welcome to come up onto the knee. Otherwise, you're trying to come all the way up, squeeze the inner thighs together and lower down. You're trying to go for a big rainbow shape. And huge rainbow shape, good, up and over. And one more time on this side. And lower back down, swing your legs over to the other side. And start with that feeling of shifting the ribs out of the way. You can come up onto the knee, or you can come all the way up onto the legs, your call. To get all the way up, you have to have some mobility through the ribs. So you got to be able to curve your waist a lot, or else it'll feel like your legs are too long and there's no room. That's partly why this is hard. Big side bend, lower back down. One more time, whatever you're doing. Awesome. Beautiful, Natalia. Yeah, good, everyone. And then sitting back down. And take your hands to the back of the knees, take your legs wide, round to the back of your sits bones. Find a balance with your legs up. And then you're gonna round back just a little, leaving your thighs where they are. And then you gotta come back up. So you're trying not to move your legs. So you're trying to open across the front of the pelvis, scoop the abs and come back up. And Natalia and others, you might wanna do this with no hands. So reach your arms forward, round back. And you're like, nope, you don't have to. And round back and scoop and come back up. Round the pelvis under, try to roll through that lower back. You also can add one leg reaching out and then you pull it back in as you come up. A lot more oblique as you do that because it pulls you asymmetrically. Round and pull up and round and pull up. Awesome. Four more, whatever you're doing. Awesome, everyone. Yeah. And then you're gonna sit back up when you're done with that. Set your feet down. Tip your knees over to one side. Put your hand down, kind of push your hips open. And if you can, sneak that back foot underneath you more so you're pushing your hip open. Reach your arm back and then sit back down. And tip your knees to the other side. As you press up, just sneak your foot more underneath you so it becomes more of a back bend. One more each side, however it feels good to you. Yeah, tipping the knees. Push your hips forward. You can sneak the hand further behind you. Should feel like a big quad stretch. And drop the knees the last time. Bring your hand more. So your hand, the one behind you, is close to that back foot. So it pushes the front of the hip open. And coming back up. Awesome. And then bring yourself onto your hands and feet. You're going to step your feet back into a plank position, lengthen your spine, and then pike your hips up into downward dog. You don't have to put your heels down. And lengthen to a plank, and then lift. Lift the hips. If you can, lift the hips, reach one hand through and kind of thread the needle under. Put your hand down, lift the hips, thread under. Lower your hand, lower the hips, lift the hips, thread under. Last time. Hinge, thread under, walk your hands towards your feet. Find your weight back over your feet. Drop the back of the pelvis and start to roll up to standing. Once you're standing nice and tall, finding your good alignment, and you're all done. Awesome job. Thank you so much.